Welcome to Two Shallow Divers, your friendly scuba show. I'm Sean McCready.
And I'm Molly McCready.
We recorded this episode in July when we were attending Podcast Movement, and we were lucky to run into a fellow diver, Scott, on our first day of the conference. Scott was up for chatting with us about his diving experiences, so with the help of TalkShoe and Heil Sound, who were set up in the lobby, we were actually able to record during the middle of the conference. Since this wasn't a studio recording, you will hear some background noise, but our interview with Scott is great, and we think you'll enjoy it. All right, back to the show. Welcome to Two Shallow Divers. My name is Sean McCready.
And I'm Molly McCready.
And today we're joined by Scott Elchison, our first dive buddy guest. So Scott, thank you for coming on the show.
Super glad to be here.
Great. So Scott, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and perhaps how you got into scuba diving?
Yeah, not a problem. So my name is Scott Elchison. I am a current resident of the lovely state of New York City, and I'm here at the podcast convention to really learn more how to really edit my podcast. That's like our big thing. But when it comes to scuba diving, it's actually a family affair. So my older brother and my dad and myself, we all got certified together way back in, well, my card says 2010, but this is our second certification for open water advanced, so probably like 2008, give or take. I'm not quite sure how it started, but I think my dad wanted to do it, and he didn't want to do it by himself, so he's like, do you guys want to do this? And then I said yes, and then I realized how much course work there was, like homework, and I was already in school, and I was like, well, here we go again. So I kind of came in, so then we all got certified together, and then now we dive on vacation. That's kind of our family thing.
That's awesome. So your dad was interested initially
Yes.
and kind of roped you guys in, maybe unknowingly in terms of how much work was involved.
Right, as dads do, but in the end it was good for all of us.
Right. So what was your first dive after getting certified?
So I'm spoiled. So we got certified in Aruba, and then the first dive after that was the Molokini crater in Maui.
Awesome.
Great place to get started.
Yes. Yeah. Like I said, I'm very, very, very spoiled. But yeah, I mean, it's 100 foot of clear, open water. You can see straight to the bottom.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, the reef, the fish, the turtles around. I mean, it's unbelievable. I'm still waiting for the day when we see a pod of whales come through, because in the wintertime, that's what Maui is known for, the humpbacks.
Yeah.
We had a pretty cool diving experience. We dove Maui in January of last year, and it was humpback whale migration season. And while we didn't see any whales while diving, we did see them on our boat, our charters out and back, and then underwater it was just loud at some points with the whale calls back and forth to each other, which was a kind of surreal experience.
It's it's totally strange. You're sitting there, it's like, are they close?
Yes.
And they're no way they are. They have to be further away. But that's I'm sitting there waiting. It's like, come on, come around, come on.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, but nothing shows up. So who did you guys dive with, and what was the dive company?
We were with Makena, and our dive master was Benja, and he is one of our favorites.
Yeah, to this day, I think Benja holds up as our favorite dive master.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Who were you with?
We were with Scuba Shack.
Oh,
Okay.
nice.
Yeah, love those guys. Our dive master was this guy named Jim from New Jersey. So it was funny because we're all originally from New Jersey, and he was like from a town over. So it was just kind of funny. My dad's like, okay, so I can do this as a retirement job. So, but I think aside from the scuba diving, their boat is like an absolute demon on the water. Like it has like 1,200 horsepower or something like that.
Wow.
And when they kick this thing up, it's just you can't see a boat that big going that fast, and then you're on it, and it's just like, well, this is going to be a great dive if all we do is just ride on this boat.
It's a good way to start everything.
Yeah, they got a whole package out there.
So when you're looking for a dive shop, what do you typically look for in who you're choosing when you go diving?
That's a great question. I would defer to my dad for that one. He picks it. I'm just along for the ride, so he has somebody to dive with. Yeah. So I guess I now have a standard after my most recent dive is that I prefer to have gear with a depth gauge on it, because we were out in Croatia, and the dive was good. It was just probably the sketchiest dive I've done in my life, where it was just like the gear worked, but it was all in bar instead of PSI, which is you work it out. But I realized I was diving. I was like, "Where's my depth gauge?" And it's just like only one person had a dive computer, which was like our lead instructor, and he's just like, just stay above me. And I'm like, okay.
Stay above them
Right.
and pray nothing goes wrong
Yeah.
and pray nothing, nobody gets separated.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always better to be able to rely on your own tools and your dive buddies.
Yeah.
Well, and just to have the ability to check, to
Right.
be able to know where you are and what you're doing.
Yeah. See, I'm a constant checker when I dive because I found out when I went for the open water advance that I get narked starting promptly at like 85 feet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's like a thing, and it's like I get super lightheaded and dizzy, and
Yeah.
I just like look up at the sky. I'm like, well, this is great. And then they're like, hey, Scott, go up. I'm like, all right. So I go up a little bit. So it wasn't anything crazy, but I mean, I've heard stories of people that are just, they sat down there and they're supposed to do like a test to see how like your brain reacts, and then they're just sitting there spitting their reg out, and the dive instructor has to come back and put the reg back in,
Yeah.
and he just spits it back out, and it's just like, so I'm not trying to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to be a panic diver.
Right.
So you said you're advanced open water certified. What's
Yep.
led you to kind of continue down the certification path?
I think just because the first dive was in Maui, and we couldn't go to like the bottom of the crater because that's like at 100 feet. So we wanted like, well, let's come back and get the open water advance so that we can just fully do that one dive. And that's about kind of where we've stopped today with it, just because for what we do, recreational diving, I mean, we don't really have to go any deeper.
Yeah.
I don't need to learn how to do trimix and dive for 24 straight hours
Right.
underwater. Like, I'm fine with that.
Sounds pretty good to me. I could get
Yeah.
it.
So in terms of the places you've gone diving, you talked about Aruba and Maui and Croatia. What was your favorite place? If you had to recommend one spot for us to dive in, what would you say would be the best?
Well, I want to say the Great Barrier Reef, but when I went there, it was just stormy and dark and brown, so it didn't live up to the hype. I mean, it was still good. I think, for me, every time we go to Maui, it's perfect. It's easy. It's always clear. You always see some sort of cool fish or octopus. There's a high chance of whales. I'm waiting for the day. And then, of course, you're in Hawaii, so it's.
Yeah.
For me, that's the full package right there.
Awesome.
Yeah, and the land life is pretty good in Hawaii, too.
Yeah.
For those intervals that we have to.
Yeah. For when we have to go off the boat to a bar stool.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's pretty rad.
Yeah.
Yeah, twist our arms.
Yeah.
What about while diving? What's been your favorite thing that you've seen? Favorite thing that you've encountered underwater?
It's just been like, I think the octopus.
Yeah.
I think that's fascinating to see, because you see it on Discovery Channel, and it's like, oh, that's cool. And you see this like little blob going across the water, and it's all of a sudden it's like in part of the coral reef. It's like hidden. You can't even see it, and until it blinks at you. It's like the most wild active camouflage I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, I'm a big Halo fan. I know how active camouflage works in the game, and I saw it in real life, and I was like, my goodness. So for me, it's been the octopus for sure. What about you guys?
Yeah, I have loved seeing octopus when we've gone diving. Just watching them move is so interesting to watch their bodies, and then like you said, the camouflage, it's incredible. We were on a night dive once, and we saw an octopus move from one coral to another coral, and so again got to see its movement through the water, but then watching it change colors as it went, and then as it pretended to be a larger animal because it knew we were there, was also pretty neat.
Yeah, mine, I think the same thing. The coloration changes. Octopus, I saw a cuttlefish that was amazing transformation that really blew my mind. I still think my coolest, though, is we were diving and saw on our first day of diving was manta rays swimming overhead, which was just a childhood dream of mine. And those things, it's like a car going above
They're
you.
huge. I've never seen them. That would be cool. That's like an aircraft carrier coming in over you. Those things are huge.
Exactly.
Yeah, I really want to do the Kona night dive in Hawaii, where they have they put up the lanterns down on the bottom, and the mantas come in and do the plankton feeding right above you.
No way.
That people have said is one of the coolest dives in the world, and that's something, it's a different island in Hawaii. We gotta leave Maui, which
It's going to be tough.
take some talk.
It's tough.
Absolutely.
That's very cool.
So, Scott, one of the things we like to talk about is just kind of how different divers experience diving. And so
Okay.
I think kind of, we all get into it for various reasons, but then also when we get underwater, what is it that makes you say, this is something I want to prioritize? Because it's not, it doesn't sound like all your diving is done off in New York. So you're really
I'm not going in the Hudson.
doing a lot of work to travel and dive. So what is it? What do you feel and what do you think about? What's your experience of diving like when you're out there?
I think it's just the least effort sport I could do. Like there's just nothing I have to do besides kick my legs and just see awesome fish. And it's that's like the experience of what it is to be weightless. So if I could, would I be in space right now? Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Absolutely.
But I think this is the closest that will get to it. And then it's just cool because it's myself, my brother, and my dad, and then we're all just kind of like hanging out, relaxing. That's what vacations are all about. So you can relax on the beach, you can relax 100 feet down in the water. So I think it's just a calming experience.
Awesome.
So one of the other questions we like to ask our guests is if you were talking to someone who's thinking about getting scuba certified, they're kind of on the fence. Maybe they want that sport where you don't have to do anything, but maybe kicking seems a little too much for them.
It can be hard sometimes.
Yeah,
if there's a current, it's not easy.
Yeah, that changes the
Just
game.
go with the current. Do a drift dive then.
That's what I do.
Turn around. But if you were talking to someone thinking about getting scuba certified, what would be your one sentence pitch to them about why they should or should not go this route?
Man, it's funny because my girlfriend and my brother's girlfriend are currently in this situation, and I think it's not even a sentence. It's just like them seeing like the pictures that we bring back. Like they say, a picture says 1,000 words. That's like just going out there and experience like a whole nother world in a sense is what diving is all about. Because like we're a bunch of land lovers, but to see what what that aquatic life is and the animals and that ecosystem down there is just for me again it's like Discovery Channel, but it's in real life. It's just fantastic. It's just like a calming whole new world that's opened up.
Yeah. Speaking of Discovery Channel, we're recording this during Shark Week, which...
Oh, my goodness, you're right.
It's kind of rough to pull scuba divers away from Shark Week for a conference, and that's how much we love Podcast Movement. Have you ever had any good sharks coming in on your dives?
Yeah. Don't tell my girlfriend because she's crazy afraid of sharks, but I think the closest one we had was, there was about a 6-footer... I can't remember what type it was, but it was in this cave. It was called like the Bubble Cave. Mm-hmm. And what happens is like you go into this cave, and because of the current, there's like a pocket of air in the center of it. So you can dive into it. You can take your mask off, talk, and go down. And this big 6-footer was just kind of like drifting back and forth in the current, like sleeping in a sense.
Yeah.
It was like from me to probably you.
Yep.
And it was just... for those that can't see this because it's an audio thing, it's about probably like 4 or 5 feet away from me. I just kind of put my hand out to like pet it, and then I was like, you know what? Let's not do that. And I brought it back because I like my hands where they are.
Yeah,
but
attached to your body.
Yeah,
That's some sort of expression. Let sleeping sharks lie or something like that.
Something like that. Well, if it's not, it should be. Yeah, should plaster all over the boats. Don't pet the sharks.
Great, yeah, that's a pretty good one, and you see it kind of in that restful state, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
I think that was like the most interesting part because normally you see that it's like they're swimming because like they have to swim to breathe, but it was kind of taking advantage of the current like I do, and it was just living its life, and I was like, it's pretty cool, and it's not as scary as you'd think. But if I saw a great white, I would not be in the water.
Yeah, that'd be a whole new game.
Yeah, I'd be out pretty quick.
Yeah, that was one of our things. We saw a couple sharks, just black tip reef sharks in our first couple dives, and immediately we're like, oh my gosh, there's a shark, and then we realized they don't care about us. Like,
nope.
They're just swimming around and doing their thing, and like it was like, oh yeah, right, okay, we don't need to be afraid of all the sharks. Like, they're in their own space, and we're just observing, and they're not going to interrupt us.
Yeah,
right.
They're really cool with us being there, because if they didn't want to be, we wouldn't be there for long.
True
right.
story.
Yeah.
God bless them.
Yeah. Have a lot more armor on, like chainmail or something.
Yeah.
I'd be more protected than like a 3 mil wetsuit.
So speaking of animals, one of the questions we like to ask is, what would your scuba spirit animal be?
That's a great question. Have you guys seen Finding Nemo?
Yeah.
There's a turtle called Crush.
Yeah.
That pretty much sums up my life, both in the water and out. So definitely it would be a turtle.
Nice.
Name Crush or some other sweet turtle name.
You'll have to give that one some thought.
Yeah, that one,
We
yeah.
haven't had anyone name their spirit
That's
animal
true.
yet, so that'd be a first.
Well, I'll come back, in like 15 episodes to give you the update on the what the spirit animal turtle name would be. Or
Nice.
should be.
You're totally welcome back, Scott.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then, as we're kind of wrapping up here, if you had to think of what would be your money's no object, I could dive anywhere, sign me up, what would be on that bucket list for you?
I know Molly and I, we were talking recently before the show started. Bora Bora
Yeah.
is definitely on the list. I think that's the one that we're always like looking at because it's very remote.
Yes.
It's very, very
Yeah.
remote. And we just sit there and dive. And it's just like, hopefully it's not stormy and rainy, but I think that's going to be the one. Or like there's something like real crazy. Like I also like, aside from fish and beautiful coral reefs and animals, I really enjoy like wreck diving.
Yeah.
So, if there were like, any really sweet sunken ships or airplanes that you could like swim through, and if I could get down to the Titanic, that'd be cool. But that's a bit deep for me.
Yeah. I'd go in a
Might be a
submersible.
little cold.
Yeah, it might be a little cold.
Yeah. If you get any connections to James Cameron, I hear he's got a hookup.
Yeah.
You can get a ride.
It's only going to cost you $500,000 to hitch it.
Right.
So, no, that's in fact one of the things we always say is out in Chicago they say that some of the best wreck diving that you can find because the Great Lakes are fresh water, so the wrecks are perfectly preserved down there. If we're diving and we see some good experiences as we're out there, we'll give us a call sometime and
Yeah, let us
come
know.
to Chicago.
I mean,
It's not the tropical vacation.
no, it's not. But it's still a wreck diving vacation. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, Scott, thank you for joining us so much today.
Glad
we
to
really
be here.
appreciate you. Thanks for sharing your stories, and we look forward to having you back.
Well, we're almost out of air. Thanks for buddying up with two shallow divers today. If you've enjoyed listening, please take a moment to rate us on iTunes.
Also, if you or someone you know would be a good guest, please go to our website, 2 shallowdivers.com/guests to submit a suggestion. Once again, that's 2shallowdivers.com/guests.
Until next time, enjoy your dive adventures, and we'll be back soon. But remember, don't hold your breath.